Welcome to this screencast of the Jewish Studies CPD Day 2019-2020. The recording of this series of screencasts was made necessary by the current situation, whereby the restrictions in place to counter the pandemic of COVID-19 has made it impossible for us to bring this workshop to teachers in its original format of a live workshop. We have made all possible efforts to adapt our workshop in such a way that although it was originally designed for live interaction in groups, you can benefit from engaging remotely with its content. This resource can be engaged with by individual teachers. However, some activities will be made richer by collaborating with colleagues, as it was intended during the live workshops. During the screencasts, from time to time, we will point out when collaboration and discussion is recommended. My name is Ailish Travers and I'm the team leader for Jewish Studies. My contact details are available on the last slide of each part of these screencasts, should you have any follow-up questions or need further support. In 2018-2019, we had an introduction to the specification CPD Day. The PowerPoint and booklet from the 2018-19 CPD Day is available online if you didn't get to join us or if you wish to revisit it. This is the 2019-2020 CPD Day, and it is focused on teaching, learning and assessment in Jewish Studies. Our future CPD will be focused on the emerging needs of teachers. This will be based on feedback as well as queries we receive from teachers. To help us in our planning, we would appreciate if you took the time to give us feedback at the end of this CPD. The link is available on the website beside these screencasts. The three parts of this CPD are as follows. Part 1 is the introduction to teaching, learning and assessment in Jewish Studies. Part 2, planning for learning in Jewish Studies. And Part 3, formative assessment in Jewish Studies. The learning intention for this introductory session is to consider our experience of working with the Jewish Studies specification to date. We recommend that you work through these three sessions in the sequence they are here in order to get the most out of the material. However, do not feel that they have to all be completed at the same time. To fully engage with this CPD, we recommend that you download and print the booklet that accompanies it. This will be used throughout all parts of this CPD. The booklet symbol in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen will show you where it will be used, and I will also refer you to it. When you see the pause and reflect icon, you can take time away from the presentation to engage with the material before continuing to the next slide. The strategy icon is used to show where an active classroom strategy was designed for the cluster day. We have adapted these for the digital context as much as possible. You will find a list of strategies used in the CPD on page 19 of the booklet, and you will find further support for these strategies on the JCT website. We will have our first opportunity to pause and reflect now using the 3-2-1 strategy. The 3-2-1 strategy is useful for formative assessment to elicit student prior knowledge or as an exit strategy at the end of a class. Here we use it to ask you to think of 3 things you know about Junior Cycle Jewish Studies, 2 things you need more support with, and 1 thing that is working well for you so far in the Junior Cycle Jewish Studies classroom. If you have not had a Junior Cycle Jewish Studies class yet, you might want to discuss with your colleagues who have been teaching it. It is hoped that many of the things you need support with will be addressed during this CPD. However, our contact details are on the last slide of every session should you need any further assistance. You can now pause the presentation to do this activity. The Junior Cycle Jewish Studies specification was introduced for first-year students in September 2019. That means in this, the 2020-21 school year, CBA 1 will be happening for the first time, and next year, in the 2021-22 school year, CBA 2 and the Junior Cycle Jewish Studies exam will take place for the first time. In this CPD, we will have an opportunity to reflect on the CBAs throughout all the sessions, with a particular focus on them in part 3. The preparation for CBAs and the Junior Cycle Jewish Studies exam is done through units of learning over the 3 years with ongoing formative assessment. This CPD is designed to support you in doing this. The key documents that have framed our CPD design are the Framework for Junior Cycle, the Jewish Studies Specification, and the Jewish Studies Assessment Guidelines. They can all be found under the Key Documents tab on the JCT Jewish Studies webpage. We recommend you download and save a copy of them or print them out so you can regularly refer to them in your planning and at your department meetings. When you have students who are following the Level 2 learning programme or Level 1 learning programme in your class, you can use the L2LP and L1LP tabs on jct.ie to support your planning. The NCCA Toolkit series are another set of useful documents that we refer to throughout the CPD. These booklets help to scaffold effective formative assessment practices. If you wish to further explore these again, you will find them under the Resources tab on the JCT Jewish Studies webpage. We also kept looking at our School 2016, a quality framework for post-primary schools in mind. So the design of this CPD is consistent with and will enhance ongoing work in this area that your school might be undertaking. We created a language matching activity to give you an opportunity at the start of the day to collaboratively try to match common terms from the Junior Cycle framework with their definitions, to check prior knowledge and examine the language of Junior Cycle that is still very new for some of us. You can print it off from the resources section of the website or use the digitised matching activity we created using the Quizlet website. To use it, you can scan the QR code or click the link on the website and then select the Match tab under the Play heading. You will find the answers to the matching activity on the Resources tab on the JCT Jewish Studies webpage and a glossary of terms on page 3 of the resource booklet. This slide gives an overview of some of the key parts of the Jewish Studies specification. From it we can see that there are 3 strands: defining moments in the history of the Jewish people, Jewish life, culture and identity, and sacred texts. There are 27 learning outcomes, and for ease of reference you will find a poster of the learning outcomes on the Resources tab on the JCT Jewish Studies website. When we look at the learning outcomes, we need to be mindful of the action verbs in the specification. These are found on page 18 and 19 of your booklet, and again there is a poster available on the JCT website. The Jewish Studies specification has 3 elements: foundations, exploring diversity, and exploring current contexts. These link to specific learning outcomes. When planning a unit of learning, we bring all of these things together, taking a non-linear, integrated, and incremental approach to the specification. This means that the learning outcomes can be engaged with multiple times to allow for the incremental development of student knowledge and skills. The NCCA Booklet 4 includes the what, so what, now what model for students reflecting on their learning. At the end of each part of this CPD, you might like to take a moment to reflect on the learning in the space provided on page 12 of the booklet that is based on this approach. You might now like to pause to read this statement and reflect on why it is important for students and teachers to incorporate moments of reflection throughout the 3 years of Junior Cycle Jewish Studies. The learning intention for this introductory session was to consider our experience of working with the Jewish Studies specification to date. The learning intentions for the rest of this CPD are as follows. We recommend that you work through these sessions in order to get the most out of the material, However, do not feel that you have to complete them all at the same time. Please take time to submit your feedback for us on this CPD via the link on the JCT website beside this series of screencasts. While we cannot be with you in person at this time, we continue to design support material for our website www.jct.ie. We are available and happy to answer any queries you might have via email to info@jct.ie, marked for the attention of the Jewish Studies team. Thank you very much for engaging with this CPD.